are beginning the Policy Review Committee meeting January 28th, 6 p.m. Present is Julia, Beverly, Olson, and Rob Hurley. We're going to begin with legal, and I think we're going to start off with Policy 335, which is the family and medical leave. All right. Rob, you were saying?
Yeah, this policy was drafted. I worked with our attorney to get this consistent with our current practice and current law in regards to this, so that we basically discarded the PASBA policy, recommended policy, and Brian and I worked on this, and it's consistent with our current practice, and it's consistent with current law. It's basically a legal document more than anything else. It's consistent with.
And it's substantively, it's the same. It's like what we do.
Yeah, it's
right now.
It's consistent with our current practice,
right, okay.
Absolutely. And there's a couple quirky things that we do that maybe other places don't do. An example would be people take FMLA paid. They use all their sick days and then go to FMLA.
Hi, I just want to let you know this is the policy meeting.
Your group.
You want the cool meeting, which is the facilities meeting.
I'll come back in 15 minutes.
No, if you're
No, they're over there. Yeah, they're in the back.
They were here last time.
I'll show. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We didn't meet last time. Sorry.
Okay. All right, Rob.
Yeah, so basically that's a legal document.
Okay. So then we want to. So after this, we want to. I don't know. So we want to switch over to the drug and substance abuse, which is.
Yep, we can go down.
We're talking about the current practice.
Any questions about the FMLA one, guys?
No, and
Okay.
that'll be going to. This is the first reading, or it's going to go to.
Go to first reading, yes.
Okay. Okay.
If you guys are good with that,
I am.
then we move from here to our first reading.
Right. That's what.
Awesome.
That's fine.
All right. Do I need to mark that down?
Yeah, so I'd write down and move to first.
Okay. All right, and then we're going to switch over to policy now. I have to go back here, I guess. Policy number 351, which is what we spoke. We didn't speak about it, but
Was this the one where we wanted a little bit for
the drug
and substance abuse, like what constitutes a drug? If this is also like if alcohol abuse is involved in that as well, and we just weren't sure. I don't think you were here when we discussed that.
Yeah, it is, and I have the answer to that question. Alcohol is not considered a controlled substance
Okay.
under MPA. It's a good question because I had to look myself.
Come on down.
All right, how come I can't get back to my? This is a pain. Okay. There it is. Okay. All right, so I want to go. This is great. All right, policy review. Right?
Yes, that one.
And then I'm going to go to this date, and then why did you have to go all the way back there? Okay, so we're looking at policy 351.
Drug and substance abuse. Any other questions about this one?
No, that was the question that we
We just didn't know
had.
if it included alcohol.
Okay, why am I just? I don't like to have this on the tape, but I'm seeing it here. I'm not seeing 351.
Go under legal for that one.
So go back to this. To here? No.
In there, and then go into, there you go, January, legal,
Okay.
and then you'll see that policy.
Okay, great. Here we are. Okay, so now we're going to discuss before I get fired, policy 351, which is drug and substance abuse, checking on alcohol inclusion. All right, you had just mentioned that alcohol was not considered a.
Controlled substance, so that does not.
Do we want to jump into discussing the drivers?
That would be your next policy.
That's the third one.
That's the third one.
Oh, the
So-
next driver.
Yep.
Sorry,
Are
I
We
got
go with
excited
moving
there.
this one forward?
Yes.
Okay, so we can push this one forward, 351. Move that to,
Push it forward.
yep, the first reading.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go back to this again. All right.
Can I ask another question?
Oh, please, Julie.
Are we, if someone has a prescription for medical marijuana, does that fall under this as well?
That is
Because it could be something that is prescribed.
we are going to need, here's where we are right now, and this is actually coming up as we speak. This issue is, it's going to have, we're going
to have to address it at some point.
I'm going to tell you very shortly, we're going to need, it's something I was going to send out to you guys at the end of the week.
Okay, and,
but we're going to have to develop a policy
We
on
might have to
medical wear.
develop a singular policy.
We're going to have to, I could just,
Medical
about
marijuana.
it literally just popped up, so we're going to have to address that, yeah.
Well, the governor is going to do a tour now.
So this one,
On marijuana.
This one is not, what we have here, I don't think is adequate for that issue right now.
Correct.
Yeah,
We're going
so
to need a
that's all I
separate
wanted to
policy.
say.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Can I jump to this?
So our next one
yep,
is
a school vehicle.
Yes.
Right, no, but I mean, this
Yes.
specific thing?
But what we want to do is, let's go through this.
Okay.
And we'll highlight that piece, because that's the piece that's very,
It's in question?
yeah,
Okay.
one of the things. I would go down to authority. Can I throw a couple things out at you guys right now? Under authority, the board shall implement a drug and alcohol misuse prevention program for non-CDL drivers who operate. That's not practiced right now, so
Okay.
that line right there. I don't know if we want to do that, or whether we want, because keep in mind, there's time, effort, and resources that need to go into that particular thing. And then a lot of those people are volunteers. They're taking the van. This policy here is about our vans, okay? And so that line we may want to take out. We currently don't, that's not current practice, let's put it that way. And then we'll come up to some other things in a minute.
Well, What about the one for transportation providers?
Yeah, and that's a different policy.
We'll leave that one in.
Yeah.
All right.
Just so you guys know, the current, or like our van drivers, the Department of Motor Vehicles, they give us their license, and we go and we look to make sure there isn't something really, they would be concerning on there through the Department of Motor Vehicles when they turn that in.
And so those vans, are we talking about like extracurricular teachers that run a club, and like smaller groups of students for an athletic activity?
All the above, what you're
Okay.
talking about, the vans are things that and this is a great question, and the vans are something that we own them ourselves. They can be used for a whole variety of reasons, taking kids to the IU, 5 kids to the IU for an academic competition.
Are these the ones behind the high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are
So
the ones.
if you have a teacher who is like, I don't know, like you have somebody who's got a bunch of kids that have to go to the IU, like you said, and we need to like substitute a person because somebody's sick, how fast can you get them approved through your process? I'm just asking.
Right now, we can do it relatively quickly, but the next, it's going to come up here, and as we go through this policy,
see.
whether we want to change something here or not, which I'm going to throw.
Which might add some more time.
May add some more time here.
Okay.
Couple of things here, I would eliminate and the contract carrier, because that's not relevant. We have a separate piece for that. There's 2 of those where you can check. You see those check boxes, Bucky? They're basically proposed.
Okay, down here?
Yeah, we have our bus contractors, there's a separate policy for that, so these, and the contract carriers, do you see where those there's a bunch, they offer that as an option? I would
And
cross them out, I would just cross them out. 'cause I don't
Just
think-
cross out the and contract carrier?
Yeah, just cross those out.
Okay. Okay, both of them, all right.
Now, here's where we need to discuss this.
Where are we?
Current, under controlled substances
Page-
and alcohol,
3 or something?
page 3.
Yeah. Where it says, yeah,
Okay, here's currently, our current practice does not require a drug or alcohol testing for people who drive our vans.
Right.
Our contractor does do that, and that is part of their contract, like when we pay, they have a contract like Kleins and Rhodes, and they do that for all those. So the question that before us here at the board is, should we require drug and alcohol testing for anyone who drives our van?
Are we gonna get in trouble with the union for requiring that?
And that is it's a fair question. It would be something we would certainly have dialogue with the union about. There will be some contracted teachers who do drive vans. It's not all teachers. Sometimes it's volunteers. It can be.
cleared anyway on that, or is that just something I've just been
No,
naive?
not for that.
No.
I'm, just as an example.
I don't mean driving,
Just as an example,
Okay.
I'm a state employee and I'm assigned a car to drive 10 days out of the month. I've never been drug tested because the union says you can't.
Wow.
None of us are.
Yep.
Watch out on the road when you see, when you see a state vehicle coming. But it's just, that's the only reason I asked, is because I just,
Also,
I don't know what
are they
to
talking about?
a one-time?
I'm talking about, are they talking about like a one time or talking about right before you use it? I mean, it could be almost cumbersome to even,
And we could define that as a group too. It could be the one time, you do it one time
A year.
or one time period, or what, like the.
I get
do
your
that
point.
every
I
time.
agree with you. Every time you'd be,
then,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
like,
think
I'm not going
that.
anywhere. This is way too much work. Like,
Right.
it's just, it's,
Yeah, you go, hit your ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's worth asking Mr. Subers and his experience, if that's included in other schools' policies. If I don't, that's not particularly a spot where I want to be a trailblazer.
Well, I
You know,
not
you
that
know?
it matters, but I will say in my district, I drove a van and
Yeah.
I have nothing.
See, I
It
get
just, it seems like if
seems
we're the
logical.
only one, but it seems logical, but if we're the only one, there might
No,
be
no,
a reason why.
I agree with you.
Do you know what I'm
Do
saying?
you want, I'm meeting with DBEA, one of our unions anyway, this week. Would you like me to breach the subject with
Yeah,
them to see what their
that might be
position
good.
is before we even, before I engage?
So we don't even have to, we're not going to necessarily bring it up to the board level at the moment.
No, we can circle back to this policy if
Sure.
you'd like to, we'll bring it back. So mark that down, we'll bring this back. This is also something, maybe in transportation, if we decide we want to go in this direction, we might want to bring that to the Transportation Committee also to hear the thoughts
Yeah.
of that group.
Was that the last of the concerns that you had in that policy?
Everything else, I was fine with it. Everything
me
else,
too.
it was an interesting, because of that part right there.
Yeah.
And
All right, so I'm going to mark this down as bringing this back.
bring it back.
What number was that? 810?
810.3.
And I will, like I said, let me reach out to DBEA, and then let me just feel them out a little bit, and then we'll kind of.
Okay. All right, just so I'm getting this right here. So bring this back. What am I saying here?
Put on next meeting's agenda.
Okay.
And I just write, discuss with DBEA and potentially legal,
DBA?
DBEA.
All right, and legal. You're right about that, I guess. I just assumed that was just like a
Yeah.
pretty standard thing.
Well, I wouldn't have known except that.
But I have to say,
own
at my work,
experience at my work.
we don't necessarily test for that,
No.
for a lot of reasons. All right. All right, so then I want to switch up to
New
new business. All right, so Policy 222, tobacco and nicotine. That was revised? Do I understand that right?
Yeah, hold on.
Do I need to go back into Drive, or I got the paperwork here?
Yeah, that one should be okay.
Okay?
Okay, and what I believe that PASBO's recommended language, which is actually good because we need to revise this anyway, when you're dealing with tobacco and nicotine, I think it also deals with the vaping issue. It also allows for the school to discipline formally with vaping, which is actually a bigger issue with the kids right now.
I know.
Are they allowed to vape in schools?
No, we don't let them do it, but it actually codifies some stuff.
It's interesting in the work environment, I'm not going to, side note, but like at our club, I've seen people try to vape in our
Indoors?
club. And I'm like, no. No. And they're like, big puff. They just think it's not smoking. All right.
Yeah, we have to remind people, because we're a state office building, and we have to remind people you have to stand
We
a
got those
certain number
little
of
things.
feet. You gotta stand a certain number of feet from the door.
Oh.
And
Oh, we don't do it.
doing that, and at our office, and people just don't think it's smoking, and so they don't.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
But you
They
see
just
this
stand
big
right
puff
outside the
coming
door.
up.
Do you see the part where there's check marks? Like there's spots where you can check.
Right down here, delegation and
Yeah.
responsibility.
And then you want to, like for that one, we want to put an X, like through code of conduct, just an X right there. So
Okay.
that one will be selected.
Okay. All right,
That's what I
and
would
then
recommend.
keep,
That one, that's basis
That's
of
it?
the policy. Everything else is pretty straightforward.
okay, is there any questions on tobacco and nicotine?
No.
All right, moving on, hazing. All right, so do I need to go through the bold areas, or did I learn that from last time?
Those are changes, but there's some, really, you want to look at that and also more particularly the check marks. Like, do you see where they have those blanks?
Okay, so we're talking on page 3,
Like, for example, on page 3.
guidelines. Do you want me to read that part of it? In addition to posting this policy, the district, I don't know, should I read all that, or?
But it's asking right there, it's,
District policy prohibiting hazing, including district rules, penalty of violations. The policy program established by the district.
I'd say handbooks, the second one, where it says publication and handbooks, that's where you usually find discipline stuff, related things.
Put an X there.
Yeah, I'd put it next there.
What about distribution of written policy?
Then you're gonna have to photocopy every.
Okay.
If you want to give every 3,000 kids a copy of that, that's a lot of
So
paper.
the handbooks go to the
Handbooks.
students or the teachers?
Everyone, the handbooks go to
Everybody.
the students have a student handbook that has
Okay.
all the discipline.
Okay.
And like level 1, level 2, level 3.
They giving that to the beginning of the year?
It's
It's
digital.
online, isn't it?
Yeah, it's online. The parents
Okay.
have to sign it, they read
Yeah,
it.
we just have to sign a piece of paper
Yeah.
saying we read it.
My wife probably did that.
Obviously, you didn't read it.
Is there
But Susan did.
Is there stuff on hazing in like at all levels, or just at the middle and high school?
We'll make sure it's in all levels.
Okay.
Hazing, as you know, is more.
I know,
you
I mean, when I'm thinking of hazing, of course, it's more at the middle and high school more at the high school probably, but I'm also thinking of, like, online challenges, sometimes it filters down
Yeah.
to the elementary school.
Yeah. We'll make sure it goes into all.
Yeah,
So that's the only area we need to,
Yeah.
we don't want to do anything else.
Everything else is, let me just see something.
Do we have a lot of issues with hazing here?
no.
No.
I would
No.
think that's more of I know it kind of still at my high school, there was something, but I thought it was more of a college thing.
Yes,
Well,
but with sports teams in the past.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
Significant past, though, I would hope.
Mhm.
When you hear about something happening at a high school, it's big news, because it hardly ever happens anymore. That we
In
hear
addition to authorize this one.
about. I don't wanna make
Are you on
it
page
sound like
5?
an old person.
Yeah, just making sure I didn't miss anything. Oops.
Oh, no.
see the thing about the fine?
Yeah.
So these kids could be fined after they're found guilty?
It would be, district justice would have, any fining we do goes through the district justice.
Okay.
And fining has always been part of the disciplinary for students, or is that new?
It goes through, anything that we do.
Would it be
it would go through
the
the
municipal?
Yeah, any kind of fining.
Magistrate or
Yeah,
whatever?
would be a misdemeanor, like smoking on school property or
Yeah,
something like
okay.
that. That would be an example of where you're not allowed to have tobacco, smoke tobacco.
Sure.
And,
So the second one is about the board actually
yeah,
fining.
well, so that's what
We
I'm
really
trying to,
wanna-
I don't know if you guys want to be.
I don't, I would think we don't, but
I mean,
maybe keep
I
that
mean,
option?
when children are, when a student is possibly being expelled, I mean, don't they have an option to have a hearing before the board? I mean, so isn't that part of our bag of options
Duties.
for dealing with a student's issue?
Yeah,
Is that why
the
it's there? I
fining-
mean, I don't know
The
if
fining
it's-
piece would be, that would be different, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, that.
sure.
I mean, we can cross those out if we want to. If you don't want those, or we can recommend that, we can put them in policy, but that's up to us whether we do those things.
You could also change it to, and possibly but not limited to, you know what I mean? You know,
We could
where-
put a phrase in there like
Where may be subject, you know, and if something's really egregious, then there could be a hearing, but it not necessarily, do you know what I'm saying?
But you have two different, so you're saying possibly go in front of the board? To leave it there?
You can leave, it leaves open the possibility, like if, depending on the level of,
Yeah.
yeah, like what was going
Yeah,
on.
I mean, because I could
do we
think,
want-
I mean, we could all imagine something that egregious, right? But I
Sure.
can't imagine that everything would rise to that level. Right.
Not to compare it, but we got that email this afternoon. Not that, but I mean, that, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so,
All right, so what are we doing here? Are we gonna,
The question is, do you guys want to fine, or do you want to leave, we've never done that, when they're going to the level.
it's never gone to the board level?
No, going to fining is different than, I'm looking right here where it says, in addition to authorized to the building principals.
it does say may impose, so it's not saying that they would, right? Doesn't it say that in the second one?
Yeah, may impose a fine of up to $150, which means we could do it $50.
Okay, so the first one, the 50, the smaller one.
That's the principal.
The smaller one says, in addition to authorized discipline, the building principals shall have the authority to impose a fine of up to 50. So that does, that doesn't say they're going to fine them. It says
They have the
that they
authority.
that they definitely have the authority to maybe impose a fine. Leaving that wiggle room, I don't have an issue with that. It's always been that way?
We've never, I mean, for any finding, we turn it over to the district justice.
So he's,
Then I'd say we could leave it that way.
Leave- yeah, I agree with that.
Leave it with the language that any fines resulting in,
Fines may be
Criminal
result,
behavior?
yeah, may result from turning it over to
Yeah.
the, something, we can, what do you think, wordsmith?
I
that a
think,
little bit?
I misunderstood. I'm sorry. I thought you were
Yeah.
saying that we had always had that possibility of having a fine.
so are we taking out building principals have the authority? Because
I
we're
thought
almost, we want to just,
we want
we want
strike
to pass it
I
on.
think we want to strike it and replace it with,
Building principals may turn.
may
them-
refer
The matter,
the matter to
le-
local,
appropriate legal authorities.
yeah, appropriate legal authorities. I think that makes more sense. What do you think?
And sometimes that results in a fine, depending on what the child did.
Because that's not the same as if they caused damage and we needed to recoup money from them. That's not what a fine
And a lot of
is.
the things
Yeah.
the district justice does is restorative justice,
Yeah.
and they have them do community service, that type of stuff, rather
And
than,
at a high
rather
school
than a
level, I
fine
think
that
that's
parent just writes a
appropriate.
check, what they want
Yeah.
is they want the kid to.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's when that happens.
All right, so we want to, I got what we're saying, but I mean, do I want to X these things or,
Then we wouldn't be getting rid of it, we wouldn't,
so we're just going to leave it?
yeah,
But do I want to change the wording a little bit?
Yeah, we're
Building
gonna have
principals
to,
may turn it
yeah.
over to authorities, is that what we're saying? Or municipal authorities, or?
Turn it over to appropriate
Authority?
local authorities.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Rob?
yeah, I'm just reading this to make sure.
I think that makes sense.
Something like that makes sense, yeah, we can
Yeah.
turn it over to authorities for further action.
Okay.
Because you can't, yeah, because depending on where something happened, it might be Amity Police, then turning it over to the magistrate, it might be, referred to the state police if it's over at the high school, right?
It would pretty much would be state police, right? Because that's
If it's
what
at the high
covers,
school.
oh, at the high school, you're right.
Yeah.
So you're saying appropriate local authorities,
Yeah, which,
it covers
and that's
everything.
like whoever, yeah,
Just a blanket.
right. Yeah, that takes.
So do I want to add this or write in here, add?
Yeah, we're right, add.
And,
Okay.
Cross
and-
out the stuff you want to get rid of, like put
And then
lines
just,
through.
yeah, cross out the tiered fines, assessed
board.
by the district.
What do you want me,
Just start right there, just start crossing those out like that. Right, because we're not selecting.
well, in addition to authorized discipline, building principals should have the authority after providing, well, we don't want to go that far. So we want to just say in addition to,
Yeah, put like an arrow that, like,
after, we don't want to, we want to eliminate building principals.
the building principal can turn it over to
Okay,
appropriate legal
building
authorities.
have the authority, okay, and then
Yeah.
I'll say turn it,
Yeah, like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Finish it that way,
what about the,
and then get rid of your check mark, like these, because they're not.
Just X?
Yeah, they're not finding the district justice.
Okay.
That means select, I'm sorry, just cross it out like
okay.
that.
How about the next one, the board, we're covered pretty
Yeah,
much.
you're covered.
So I can get rid of that?
Yeah, cross it right out there.
You good with that, Julie? Okay. When fines have not been paid, the superintendent has the authority, do we want to, do we almost want to get rid of that too?
Yeah, you want to cross it out.
Because it's out of our hands. Okay. All right, that takes care of that. Okay. Are we good?
Yep.
Move on? I said bullying and cyber bullying. We have issues. Oh, page 3. Come back.
We're meeting with our administrative team on Thursday of this week. In regards to what, I'd like to run this by them also, just because I want input from them also, because they're right where the ground, the rubber hits the road on this.
Yeah.
I can tell you, generally speaking, the part where it says, basically, it's pretty standard in terms of bullying and cyberbullying. The one thing, when it says and/or outside of a school setting,
That we needed that language to be able to, like,
Here's the deal. Like right now, the current practice is when there's a nexus. In other words, if something happens at Blazer midget football, for example, like two kids are picking on each other, we hear about it in school.
Yeah.
Yes, we get the parents involved. Yes, we send out precautionary notices. Make the teachers aware of that. We'll provide any sort of counseling for the bully or the other one when we hear about those things. But if it doesn't ripple into school at all, then the school doesn't. The kid won't get suspended per se.
Right.
If it does, like it turns into something where then they get the suspended. So that one call where they say you can, that one clause right there. Well, the way we've done it is when it crosses the nexus. Basically, if it rolls into school, you're going to get the discipline, that as well as all the supports. We still contact parents and provide support services
Yeah.
if things are going on outside of the school environment.
But there's no school discipline or consequences?
Not like
at
what,
the-
like
at
a
the moment.
suspend, at the moment,
Yeah.
the way we currently do it is, it has to cross that nexus. And I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, if something's that serious that it bubbles, it usually crosses that
Yeah,
nexus, so
I
that
get
it's
that.
rare. But like for a classic example would be Blazer midget football. If they,
Yeah.
do you want, like, say they had there was a disagreement among players and they were at each other. Now, do you want the school to be the policeman for that? Now, if we hear about it, like I said, we get the parents involved.
Yeah.
We provide counseling services, things like that. Keep
You
the kids
assist, but
separated.
you're not-
We assist with it, but would the kid necessarily get an in-school suspension because of bullying that occurred at a Blazer midget football event? And I just use that as a random, possibility. And so that's the way it's kind of currently dealt with.
Okay, so what if,
So what do
what
we-
if, it's apparently, it's happening online, cyberbullying, on Snapchat, and since they didn't post it during school hours,
Well, if it crosses into school, most things cross into school.
well, what do you consider crossing into school?
Then if it becomes disruptive to the school environment, which.
So
Isn't-
something's happening and it's being shared during school hours, but from others' kids?
If that would be disruptive,
Then that happens
then
in
it
school.
would be disrupting our environment, so
Even if the first incident, happened in the evening
Yeah.
after school? Okay.
it would be disrupting the environment. I want to chew this with our administrative team too, because it's definitely a collaborative type of thing, but.
Oh.
So can we turn this one back, bring it back up in our next meeting again? Is that a problem at all? Just because I would like to get their input also
Yep.
on that.
Up here and just
Yeah.
Bring it back to the
Bring it
next
back
meeting? back up.
With additional input from administration.
Is that a wellness, a team that's working on student wellness that or is it guidance that you're running it by, or?
Actually, I want our principals involved in
Okay.
this one. And our meeting's Thursday, so
Okay.
I didn't want to, I was like, we can wait on this. It's
Yep,
not-
got it.
Yeah. It wasn't that time sensitive. I need to,
Yeah.
and it's more than an email discussion.
Sure.
All right, the next one looks pretty brief.
Which one?
We're back to tobacco, nicotine, but this is regarding employees.
Oh, that's standard.
Oh, here we go.
Which one are you on? What policy number?
Well, policy 323, right? Yeah, 323. 300,
Yeah, online, it says that 323 is tobacco, nicotine, pupils, but on this document, it says that 323 is tobacco and nicotine employees.
This would be employees.
Okay, just the one that's on the computer.
That's what I'm
is
looking
called
at, yeah.
pupils. But
so the board purpose-
it doesn't mention, it mentions employees through the whole thing, it's just mislabeled, that's no biggie.
Now, is this really true? The board designates specific areas? That's really administration, right?
We're not going to designate anywhere where someone can smoke on campus.
Oh, okay, all right, so we just want to get rid of this?
Get rid of it.
The
Some
whole thing,
places
cross
do
it
that,
out?
but we're not. Yeah, so,
That makes sense, I'm sorry.
yeah, I don't want people smoking around kids.
I would think it matters more if you have like a very large campus you know, if you have a huge urban school that's gigantic, and it's.
There
you
is
know,
a-
There's
Yeah.
nowhere within like a quarter mile.
My high
go
school
get
had
off-size.
a smoking area,
Yeah.
but of course that's a few years
That's
ago.
a year or two ago, right?
Just a smidge.
We have no area right now.
Right,
and
right.
I don't-
That's fine.
I don't want to make that a signature
Next one too, we
move,
want to cross out?
if you don't mind.
No, I think it's good. So, next one, the board also prohibits the use of tobacco, nicotine. Cross that out? Or that, we agree with that?
Oh, I agree with that. The
All right,
board
so
prohibits.
do I want to
these-
X that, or?
I would say the board cross out also, because of the way we're crossing out that other one. So the board prohibits the use of tobacco and nicotine by district at school-sponsored activities.
That are held off school property.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, so for example, if we go to the
We have
Reading
prom.
Royals,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't want a employee smoking
yeah,
with
sure.
the
Oh,
kids
that
there
make-
on a field trip.
sure.
Does that make sense? Even
Yep.
though
Yeah.
it may be legal, you know, it's not.
All right, so I crossed the also out, but do we want to,
Check, you want to put a check box next to it,
Okay.
and cross it off. Does that make sense to you guys? You guys
Yeah.
good with that?
Yep.
oh, this is something I think we did in facilities, or maybe purchases?
Which one, which policy number?
I'm sorry. Policy 610? I guess when seeking competitive bid support shall advertise once a week for 3 weeks. Less than 2 years.
Is this the same as what we've had before?
The stuff in bold is new, is the newer stuff here.
Right.
Some of this is required, like when you.
Yeah,
like
it's coming from-
over
it's coming from
yeah.
the law.
Some of this is required.
Or regulations?
Yeah.
So for example, what they're discussing in the next room, that's going to have to be advertised.
Oh, yeah, that one is, that's a big one.
Everything here is citing the Pennsylvania state regulations for, I don't know what 24 chapter is, but it's all citing state regs that have
When it
changed.
has those, that's what she's saying, that
Right.
links to a state reg.
Oh, okay.
So when you see that kind
So
of bracket.
when you
around-
see these,
One and-
total cost of less than $10,700, that comes from somewhere. It's not just a number they picked out of the air.
Yeah, the only thing the board could do is you could make it, or make it, okay, if it's anything over 10,000, like you could change that.
lower it.
Yeah, does that make sense? And that's
More restrictive,
More
but not-
restrictive, yeah.
Yep.
Would we be interested in doing that?
No.
You don't want to
No,
get
Right,
that
right,
much,
because I
guys.
think
No,
we're
no.
going to have to deal with a lot
It's
more.
fine the way.
Right,
whatever-
right, gotcha.
Whatever the law says you gotta do.
Don't be Louise that much.
Okay.
Purchases not budgeted previously.
Want to move that one? You guys ready to move that one forward?
Was
Oh,
that-
I apologize if we're not ready to do that.
That's fine.
Are you guys ready to move that one forward? Are you guys good?
Sure. Policy 612, purchases not budgeted. Okay. When budgeted funds are allocated. Oh, it's one page.
I'm sorry, I'm reading where it says the authority, we have the authority to make the change in the last 9 months of the fiscal year, which is basically all school year. Except for September. So I'm sorry, that's not funny. Way to put limitations on things. Again, that's
See
coming
the-
from, that's coming from a state reg, so it is just what it
See
is.
there, not appropriated. When budgeted. allocated. Do we need to do anything on this?
Oh, okay.
It's pretty straightforward. Rob?
I don't have any recommendations other than that one.
Okay. cooperative purchasing, which is policy 613.
This is like CoStarz, BCIU. We do some cooperative purchasing with Keystone, TCPN. There's a couple different.
So based on those numbers, that's obviously state regulated or what have you?
I don't know. Yeah, oh, yeah.
When you see 1, 2, 3, 4, is that
Well,
what I'm
you
saying?
gotta look at the sites on the bottom, where it says legal, all of those where it says 24 PS and
That's-
a bunch of numbers, those are state regulations, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, if you see one that says, a number and then CFR, that's federal regulation.
okay, so above, when I see authority, when I see number 1, that's referring to number 1 that's below. Okay. We're good?
Yeah, this is,
Okay. All right,
it's kind of a silly policy, actually, because we do it, and it's not anything.
all right, so this is new, apparently?
Yeah, it says, just do it in accordance with the law, that's what it says.
All right, so
And
this
we're on
is
to
fraud, and this is new?
Yeah,
The board expects all employees, volunteers. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
This is just highlighted because it's the first time we're seeing it.
yeah. Yeah, bold is anything that's new, so since it's all new, it's all bold.
So again, looks like this is based
Yeah.
on state code here.
It says superintendent or designee shall be responsible to implement. I'm assuming if he designates somebody, it would be like you, or it would be somebody in the business office.
Yeah, and for
Something
this
like
one,
that.
this one might be a business office one,
Oh, well,
this type of one, but it can be, leave it open as designee depending
Yeah,
on,
that's what I thought.
depending on what we're looking at, it gives us.
yeah, I
more
don't mean to,
flexibility.
I didn't want to define it more, but I was just
Yeah.
asking.
Just make sure I didn't have any notes on that one. Which policy number is that, 6?
828.
Do we have a retaliation policy?
For investigation,
Uh-huh.
I would put down, do you see it, under investigation, it just reads the superintendent? I would say the
Designee.
superintendent and designee right
And
there,
designee.
yeah. Or designee,
And/or,
yeah.
Designate, mm-hmm.
okay? Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So do we need to, I guess the only other thing would be, do we need to go through the second reading here?
No, we've already done that.
We've done, right, okay. So we're good?
Yep, we're good.
Just close it, I guess?
Yep.
We're just ending our policy review committee meeting on January 28th. The time right now is 6:50.